Excited that you're back. Today we're going to look at I am the good shepherd. In John chapter 10, verse 11 through 18. Yesterday we finished in verse 10. Like immediately back to back, Jesus is like, I'm the gate. And now that we're speaking on that topic of sheep and their lives being endangered, let me also break down that I am the good shepherd. So John chapter 10, verse 11 through 18 reads, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock and one shepherd. For this reason, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it back up again. This charge I have received from my Father. He mentions a hired hand, and when the enemy comes, he kind of, runs for his own life and selfishly preserves his own, while leaving exposed the lives of the sheep. He says, unlike the hired hand that does this for money because it's a job, it's a chore, a task, I am the good shepherd. I'm not just doing work for you. I'm doing all this out of an expression of love. See, the hired hand does it for money, but the shepherd does it for love. We also read that he desires to call out sheep that are not part of his flock. We understand that God's people, the Jewish descendancy, those were God's people. He came to save his people. But glory be to God for the Gentiles, everybody that's not Jewish, for you and I, that now salvation is open and available for you and I. You see, glory be to God that the good shepherd is so good that he's not only good for his flock, but he's also crying out for those that are looking for a shepherd. And those that know him, that he knows, will hear his voice, know it's him, and they will respond to his call. How long has the shepherd been calling you? When the shepherd is whispering, when the shepherd screams in other situations and life circumstances, like maybe he's screaming now, I pray that you respond to his voice. Jesus is not simply doing a chore or a job, being our shepherd. It's an outward expression of his love and dedication towards you and I. He also begins to say towards the very end, the good shepherd, unlike the hired hand, not only does he stay, confront the enemy, but he's also willing to lay his life down to save those that he is protecting out of love. And just in case you get it twisted, it's not that the enemy is more powerful than the good shepherd. The good shepherd, or like the good friend that's willing to lay its life down for his friends, Jesus is that good shepherd. And he says, I have authority not only to defeat the enemy, but I have authority to lay down my life and authority to pick it right back up. I have the authority that God the Father has given me. One of the most famous Psalms that we maybe grew up memorizing, English, Spanish, whatever, is Psalms 23. And it begins saying, the Lord is my Roi, my shepherd. I shall not want. See, the good shepherd is so good that if you have him, if he is all you need, then you will never have any other needs again. I learned this one time. We've gone through a lot of hurricanes here and floods. It wasn't Harvey. It was a long time before I got married. 2008. We went through, I forgot all the hurricanes we go through. But we went through a hurricane, and it was one of the bigger ones that kind of left some families and some homes, some parts of Houston, without power. And I remember our church for the first time in years was canceled. And even then, we still gathered. We didn't have electricity, but we had service for like a few families that were looking to come on a Sunday and worship. And I remember I had just flown back from a ministry trip that I went to go preach at a youth camp somewhere. And that day, that's the last day that they allowed the flights to come in or leave because the hurricane was coming. We suffered what we suffered. Our family was good. I think we were without power for a few days, 5-6 days, but we were good. Other churches in the families from our church were doing good as well. And I remember just kind of, I felt bad for a lot of families that didn't have it so well. At that time, I was living with my parents, and so thankfully we had just stocked the fridge, and so we were eating good and spending time with the family like we're doing now, taking advantage of family time. And the first day the flights opened up after the hurricane was, I also flew back out. I went to South America, to Peru to go preach. And while I'm on this flight, I'm just complaining to God. If you know me, that's why my oldest son is named Jeremiah. I'm a weeping, complaining prophet. Like, I don't hold back. And especially when I got time alone on the plane and I'm just contemplating God's beauty and I'm leaving my family. I'm like, man, I'm leaving my parents, church. I don't know what's going to happen next Sunday. How are the families from church doing? How's my family going to be? And I remember just kind of complaining to God. I'm pretty good at that. And saying, God, like, I know that we're storing up riches in heaven. Like, but can you, like, out of the overflow of heaven, just kind of like deposit some good things our way? Like, why is it necessary to just suffer so much? And God just simply asked me this question in my spirit. Aaron, am I everything for you? And I mean, I had been radically saved. Like I gave up a girlfriend of 5 years that I loved. I gave up playing college football at the University of Houston. I gave up friends. I gave up a whole life. I gave up my whole life to pursue Jesus. And I mean, of course I was like, yeah, you're everything for me. And God simply just asked me another question. Then why are you constantly having other needs outside of me? And that kind of broke me. that kind of confronted me. God's good at asking questions and answering your questions with another question. So you can kind of self-reflect. And I had some time on the plane, and I began to weep, and I understood at that moment what I just told you. If God is all you need, then you will never have any other needs again. He is that good shepherd, and the psalmist David understood this. As my good shepherd, outside of him, I will have no wants. But wait a minute, doesn't the rest of the verse talk about going through a valley of shadow of death, of this or that, suffering, presence of my enemies? Like, what's happening? Well, because if the good shepherd is with you, then you will never have any needs again. I pray today that you not only respond and hear his voice calling you, that you understand that his grace has opened up outside of God's chosen people, and that we are more than victorious through Jesus Christ, and that we're beneficiaries of his abundant grace and mercy towards the world around him. And those that need a shepherd simply just have to respond to his call. God bless you.